Tony, I want to thank you for taking the time to do this because I've just met you today.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for inviting me out.
Wow, man, it's interesting. When I saw your artwork, that was really interesting, which I'm going to put up, of course, so people will see that, because that's what you do for a living. Is that your main job?
My main job, I'm a junior high school teacher and a university professor.
Now, I didn't know all that. Wait. See, no, wait. I need to let all of you know that there's two people in here. I have Daryl, who's over here on the side. You know, he doesn't want to do it right now because he's actually an undercover agent, and he's, you know, committed to being quiet and not letting anybody know who he is. I just met Tony today. His name is Tony Anthony, by the way. And I've never heard anyone named Tony Anthony. His middle name is Anthony, first name is Tony. Yes. And you said you're a junior.
Yes.
And you named your son the same thing, so he's the third.
Yes, we use it as one of those fables, like Greek fables, where you have to guess what's my first name if it's a nickname for my middle name.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So we do it like that. Yeah.
Which university did you go to? Or was it
I went to two universities, Florida A&M University and Florida State University.
Where were you born?
I was actually born in Tallahassee, and actually, speaking of Florida A&M, I was actually born on campus. At the back in the 70s, I was the last one of the babies born on Florida A&M campus during the Jim Crow era. They closed their hospital in 1971. I was one of the last kids born on campus of the university.
Now, how did that go? What do you mean? At the university hospital or something?
Yes, they had a university hospital, but like if you go to Florida A&M now, at their registration office, the cornerstone says Florida A&M Hospital. At one time, it was a hospital. In 1971, they decided to make it a part of the university. And it was, most people think that segregation ended in the 50s, but in Florida, it ended in the 70s.
You mean it's ended now?
Yeah.
It is?
No, but yes. So
no, I should say.
Yeah, right. No, I agree with you 100%. But for purposes of delivering babies, in 1971, they integrated the hospital in Tallahassee, and I was one of the last children born in a segregated hospital in Florida.
Wow.
And yeah, so I was born on the campus of Florida A&M.
What year were you born?
1971.
1971.
Yes.
So in 71, yeah, I was just getting into the service.
Yeah.
My goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
And you're one of how many siblings?
4. I have, well, 6. I have 3 brothers and 2 stepbrothers.
Okay. And you're the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your other brothers doing? I mean, you can tell me about.
I have one that is a ET, one that works in logistics in Texas.
What's ET?
Educational technologist or computer technologist.
Okay.
And another one that's a former Major League Baseball player and owns his own baseball academy. Yeah, so.
That's of the 2 that are closest to you?
Yes. Oh, my 3 that's the closest to me.
Okay.
My youngest brother was a professional baseball player. Now he owns his own baseball clinic, and he's basically turning my nephews into robot baseball players.
Is that right?
Yes.
Wow, that's fantastic. So your parents must be really proud of you and your brothers.
Yes, they're proud of all of us. Yeah, they're extremely proud. Yeah.
Okay. Mom and dad still together?
My parents divorced when I was 9, and my parents remarried when I was probably around 15.
Not to each other?
Not to each other, but to different spouses.
So who were you raised by? Your mother, your father?
My mother and my stepfather.
Okay. Is he still? Are they still alive?
My mother and stepfather, yes, they pretty much email every day.
Is that right?
Yes.
Are you really close with him?
Yes, and actually, he's been around probably since I was 11, and my stepbrothers, actually, I've known them since elementary school, so I knew them before my parents met, and my stepfather has interest in sports, so we bonded on sports really well, boxing especially, before they really got serious. And he's really big into football, so we bonded there. He's really eccentric, so it took a while growing up, but his personality is really old school, and I like old school. So we bonded there really well.
Is that right?
Yes, yeah.
And when you say old school, in what respect? What do you think?
He's his word is, if it's yes, it's yes. It's no, it's no. It's no gray
Oh, so
area.
he just wanted to discuss it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, but not in a bad way.
Understand.
Is that often, and I'll give an example, like if I was at school and I had a difficult time with something that I needed an adult, where my voice wasn't strong enough with something, when I would call my mom would want to come and discuss it and find out, you know, the best way to get, the most efficient way for her to deal with it. My stepdad came in and was like, this is how it's going to be. And that's the end of that's the end of it. We need A to B, not A to B to C to D. And that worked a lot of times. My school needed to get the best possible solution, not a couple. And both situations worked. And I have 2 kids that are like that. I always talk about how my kids get to the same solution. One goes A to B, and one goes like this.
Right.
But they both get to the same solution. But I always admired how my stepdad was able to just get right in, take charge, and get the result that we needed, and we didn't have the extra time.
Are they still together now?
Yes, they work really great. He's, like I said, I was talking to my mom the other day. I really love that he's 78 and can still grow a head full of hair and a long beard. And
he has a fro?
Yeah, he has long. She was complaining that it was starting to dread. That he's so much.
He's Frederick Douglass?
Yeah, he was Frederick Douglass with a beard. And the other day he sent me a picture where he had cut it off to what was short like yours. And I was so disappointed. And I'm like, I can't. Why? I was upset.
Why'd you do that?
And she said that it started dreading. And I was like, he's 78. Let him live his, And she was like, no, he wanted to cut it because of grandkids. And I was like, I don't care about the grandkids. I like the hair like this. I mean, if I'm 78, it's gonna dread up, and I'm happy. But yeah.
So he had 2 kids by your mother?
Oh, he had 2 kids prior to meeting my mother.
Prior to mother.
Yeah.
Okay. So they didn't have any kids together?
No.
Okay.
So he's from Mississippi, so he's really where if it's freezing outside, his way of dealing with things is by wearing less clothes, because the more clothes you wear, it makes you weaker. Or so he'll be out in just a shirt because it's snowing, and if you wear a lot of clothes, it's going to damage his immunity.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So.
All right. Now tell me, Tony, what were you like as a little kid? Were you more academic in school? Let's start with elementary, or were you more physical?
Well, I was. My parents had a lot of problems at home, so I was. So I guess it's layered. I was considered the extremely gifted, intelligent kid that was really bad. So I was, as a kid, I was never told I was always told I was intelligent.
By who?
Everyone. If my parents would discipline me, they were like, "Gosh, you're so intelligent. Why do you do this?" Or if I was at school and I got in trouble, it was like, "Why did you do that? You're so smart."
Wait. Now this is something that you remember. You've internalized
yes.
this.
And even my parents had me IQ tested for a private school when I was like 4 or 5. There was never a time that my self-esteem was. I was always felt to be, you're extremely smart.
All right. So did you belong to Mensa?
No.
It wasn't like that.
No.
But when they tested you for your IQ, how old? What grade was this?
I was probably kindergarten first.
Kindergarten.
Yeah.
So from the very beginning, they started telling you this.
Yes, they were. They extremely. My parents were young, maybe 19, 20.
Mm-hmm.
But when they had me, they were like, "Okay, you're extremely smart. Don't you forget this." So they would have me tested, and they would have me set up for private school. We lived in a really low-income community. My dad was a butcher. My mom worked at McDonald's.
Okay. Now this is your biological father.
Yes.
Okay.
And they never forget that they would have me set to go to private schools. They couldn't afford it, but they would have me set up in the private schools. Like, please come. Can't afford it. So that was one one side, but I had to go to inner city schools because they just couldn't.
Right, they couldn't afford to put you in a private
Right.
school. Okay. So how'd you do in the inner city schools? I mean, were
Oh,
you?
there was home. I knew I was kids because we lived in the same neighborhood.
Right.
So that was fine. My
You weren't
parents.
bullied or anything?
No, I can't recall being bullied. I was always a small kid,
Okay.
and I don't have. My brother was here a couple of weeks ago. My family has a. You lived in Puerto Rico,
Right.
and you know in Puerto Rico you can have, in one family, one kid that looks black, but one kid that looks European, but one kid that looks Cuban, but
That's
one
right.
kid that looks Brazilian.
Okay.
My family's like that.
Okay. So where are you on that spectrum?
I look black. My
You're the
brother,
darkest one.
right, and my
What
brother.
about your father?
My father looks probably maybe your complexion.
Okay.
But
And then your mother?
my mother looks probably maybe your complexion. But my brother that's under me, that's 3 years younger than me, my next brother, is light skinned and blonde hair.
Okie dokie. So
So
I think it's,
yeah,
but that happens. I know because
right.
I have
But
cousins like that too.
yeah, so but my dad's family, a range of um, complexions and everything else. Daryl, who can't see in there, he saw a picture of my grandmother, and he was shocked when he came to my house.
Because he
He was
thought
like,
she was white.
right.
Yeah. Wasn't.
And even one street over, my grandmother's sister lived, and or two of her sisters lived, and everyone thought she was white.
So you really relate to Dave Chappelle because he
Um,
tells the same. Dave Chappelle, the
right,
comedian.
right.
Yeah, because you see his mother.
No, I
She's
haven't
his
seen
mother.
them.
You've seen her. She's very light. She's
Right,
like
right.
she's what we call high yellow.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, so my
Yeah.
family was like that. So a lot of
Okay.
times when I was sent out, and this goes into maybe after my parents, when I was sent out in the neighborhoods, it wasn't to a lot. We played a lot, but it was to watch my brother because he got picked on a lot because he
Because he's so
was,
light.
and we lived in an all black neighborhood
And he
in
didn't
the
fit.
hood, and so a lot of times that's what it was like. Okay, when you go out, you have to watch. So that's what it would. We were bullied. He had to earn his a lot of times, and I had to make sure that if something happened, that
And
so
you were right there.
yeah. So that's how our growing up, and even when my parents divorced, and we're talking about childhood, I got a job really early, um, and it wasn't because and we needed money, but it was because my thing growing up was whatever I did, in my head that my brothers would do way better. So if I got a job at 10, my brothers would get a job at 9, and they would be like killing it. If I was really smart, my brothers would be 10 times smarter. If I
Was this because they were just competitive?
No, I just thought that I set the bar, and they would just exceed
Exceeded.
it. And even as adults, we did this. This was always my mindset.
What was theirs? What was their mindset?
Their mindsets, to me, I didn't really think about their mindsets at all. Just I had to provide and protect.
I see.
So, and as the oldest, so we just lived like that.
Mm.
Um,
Tell,
no-
tell me this. What was it? Give me a time in your life that you feel, if you went back in time, name one time that you felt was really challenging and how you overcame that challenge.
Out of all my siblings are huge. I think all of them are like maybe 6 foot to 6'4", all healthy. I am too, but I'm the only one that's 5'7".
Okay.
I'm the only one that was born. I was born with like a heart condition where I wasn't supposed to play any sports at all.
Are you okay now?
I've always been. To me, I've always felt. My
Okay,
mom.
so you don't have a stent or something like that?
No, but I had to have surgery a few years ago.
Okay.
Ran Tokyo Marathon and was like, I got something's not right. And
Yeah, running a marathon.
no, I ran like 4, but I wasn't supposed to play sports after elementary school, but I kept playing. And one day in high school, I woke up on a table and they were looking in my eyes, and I was like, you know what happened? They said, you passed out. And I said, passed out? They said, we got an ambulance coming. I said, what? So they took me, and they said that the doctor said my heart had went out. I said, really? And so they took me to another place. If you're from Florida, if you ever get sent to Shands Hospital, it means that you have a serious condition. you're in trouble. They took me to Shands, and they say, you know, your heart is, you have a condition, but you're fine. At that point, it was the first time in life I had to think about, you know, why am I here, and you know, what good am I?
Were you 15, 16? How old were you?
Probably 15, 10th
15,
grade high
okay.
school. Yeah. So it was the first time I had to think about, you know, what purpose do I have? But we were talking on the side earlier how I came from a strong family of not necessarily parents, but grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents. My grandmother in this situation had me pretty much set with a foundation to where by the time they finished my testing, it wasn't about me anymore. It was about the people that were at the hospital that were in worse condition than I was. I didn't think about my condition anymore. There were a lot of people at the hospital. I felt that I would be fine. In a few years ago, when I had to have surgery, when I had ran a marathon, and when I finished, and the doctors here in Japan were like, "Your heart is expanded to the point where if you don't have surgery, it's gonna stop." When I had surgery, my mom was like, "You were never sad. You were never down. You never felt bad. Why?" And I said, "If I die, I've had a full life. There's nothing that I feel bad about." If
What you saying? She's saying since the time you had that first problem, 15.
Oh no, she was asking like when we're at Emory Hospital in Atlanta.
Okay.
I have no they're prepping me for surgery.
This is at 15?
No, this is 2000. This is recently.
Oh, recent. Okay,
right?
recent.
So
Okay.
recently I had to have surgery to get it fixed, or it was.
And your mother was with you?
Yeah, so she was with me. So after the surgery, we were back in Florida, and she sat me down at the table. She was like, "Why weren't you concerned that you were something with, you know, you're dying?" And I said, "Well, in my opinion, I'm not dying. I'm at peace. You know, and never once in my head that I thought I was dying. I lived a full life if something happened, but I've done everything I possibly could. I just listed 20 things that I did good in life, or I had great experience in life. Why was I gonna be sad at that moment? What do I have to worry about the surgery?"
Now, this is after the surgery, before?
She was asking the question after the surgery. She's asking why, before the surgery,
okay,
she was expecting me to be afraid of the surgery. Or, she's afraid of my heart. She's afraid of my heart just stopping.
Was she asking you these questions and stuff prior to the surgery?
No, she wasn't, because I guess she was afraid to.
Okay, so during that, she's just saying you're going to be okay, baby.
Yeah,
don't worry,
yeah.
this and that. And you're just thinking, it's been a good trip, man. It's been wonderful. If I don't make it through, I'm good.
No, I haven't said anything. I'm just.
No, I'm saying that's what you're thinking.
Yeah, I'm just thinking it's a regular day. I haven't shown any signs. To me, I'm messaging my kids. We're laughing. We're talking. We're going.
You knew you were going to have the surgery, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I said I planned the surgery. In Japan, I found out that Tokyo Marathon was in February. I asked could I have the surgery in August or July, and they were like, "Yeah, you can wait." So I waited months. So it wasn't like I ran and had it right away.
Okay.
And she was like, "Why? Aren't you concerned?" And I was like, the surgery will happen. I'm saying I've done so much. When we were kids, I don't know, I put a number on my life, 45.
You thought you'd make it to 45?
Mm-hmm. Because we were, especially around, so this time I was like 46. So
You
I had
passed about a year.
Yeah, but I had lived so much in that 46 that I was fine. Not that I wanted to die.
I understand, but you felt that you exceeded what you thought you'd do.
So, but there was no sense of urgency, no sense of like, this is it. This is like, okay, we can go ahead and. I mean, but so she was like, she didn't understand. And then I explained, she was like, okay, that makes sense. The adversity I had as a kid and adversity now, I think all tied into making me stronger. I'm a single parent. I moved to Japan with a 3-year-old. That's a 25-year-old in the Air Force.
Which is now a 25-year-old.
Right, yeah, she's a 25-year-old now. But when I came to Japan, I came with a 3-year-old daughter.
You raised her here in Japan?
Yeah, well, she lived here until she was 13,
Okay.
and I knew she wanted to go to college in America, and she went back to college.
Did you put her in Japanese school?
No, she always went to American school,
Okay.
and she needed to acclimate to life in America, so we sent her back for high school.
You said we sent her back.
Oh, I sent her back to live with her mother.
Okay.
And so she can get acclimated to life in America for high school and college. So she graduated from college and then she joined the Air Force.
So you still had a good relationship with her mother?
Yeah, I do. Her mother, and then I've been divorced, and I have great relationships with both. We have great relationships, and even with my kids that I was divorced the first time, I raised both of those kids also. Their mother, I've been a single parent twice.
How many kids?
4.
4 kids. 3 different women? Okay. 3
Yeah.
separate, I mean, three, not, I shouldn't say it like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I know what you mean.
You have 3 wives. Were you married to all
Oh,
of them?
no, I was not married. My first one was not married.
Okay, you weren't married to her.
Yeah.
And that's the one that has the Air Force daughter now?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you have
2 with my ex-wife.
ex-wife?
Yeah. And those 2 I raised.
Okay. And they're Japanese?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're double. Okay. And then you have one more, and you married her?
Yes.
Are you married now?
Yes.
Okay. And how old is that child?
He's 8.
8?
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't you show me a picture of him?
No,
you showed me a picture of your son. Both of them, yeah. Okay. Now, tell me about your career here. Wait, first, you came to Japan with your daughter. That was your first time coming to Japan?
Yeah.
Why did you decide to bring her here?
Well, I got this job. I was in the middle of school, and I was just taking off a break, and it was only supposed to be a year. I ended up staying way more than a year.
You brought her with you during your break?
No, I brought her here because I was in my head. I was only thinking I was going to be here a year.
That's what I'm saying. But you brought her then.
Yeah. But at the time, her mother wasn't in a position to be raising a child.
Okay.
So I brought her, and she was young, so she was fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
She stayed here until she was 11.
Oh yeah, 13. Yeah,
13.
So she's.
What school did she go to?
She went to Bay School, and then university. She went to West Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So
you want to make sure she stayed in Florida.
Oh, she decided. She got
She
to choose.
did?
Yeah.
Wasn't she going home visiting your family or something?
Oh, we all go back every summer, but yeah, she just decided. Once she decided she wanted to go to university in Florida.
Okay. Now you finished elementary, junior high, high school. Did you know by high school what you wanted to do, or had you known?
I knew by junior high school. It was my dream to go to university, and my mom's youngest sister was kind of like my mentor. She majored in psychology, and I would go to my grandmother's house and I would read her psychology books. In 7th grade maybe. So I would study psychology and just read her books, whatever textbook she left at my grandmother's house. I would read.
So wait, so you knew in junior high what you wanted to be?
Yes, but I didn't tell my mother because my mother wanted me to major in business.
So what did you want to be?
A psychologist or a sports psychologist.
Is that what you became?
I wanted my first degree in college was psychology. My second degree was art education, and my third degree is in art education.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you knew you wanted to become a psychologist in junior high school. Mm-hmm. When did it veer off into art?
Well, there's a funny story behind it.
Well, give me that funny story. I'd like to hear.
Well, women. It's a short one, but I had a girlfriend in college, and she was a merit scholar. She was like one of the smartest in the United States, and her dad was a professor at the university, a university, and her mother was a professor, but her dad was a retired major in the army, and she was at my house, and I think she had the epiphany that she may marry someone that's a regular student, not a high-level achiever like she was. So she said, "Hey, may I have your transcript, your college grades, a calculator, and a piece of paper?" And I was like, "Sure." So I gave it to her, went in my room, and do what college students do, watch TV and eat. And she came back out like an hour later, and she's like, "This is what you need to graduate college with honors." Did I ever tell you the story? I don't think so. She's like, "This is what you need to graduate with college with honors."
She's the same age as you.
Yeah, we were the same age,
All right.
and she had planned it out like she took from that night for her laying on my floor to sometime in the future. She plotted out every single thing I needed to do from that night to graduate from with honors from university. And I was like, "Are you crazy?" And she's like, "You need to do this starting tonight to graduate." And this was maybe my second year in college. And she had planned out the next 2 years. And I was like, "Why?" And she's like, "You just need to do this." And of course, we broke up. So,
Why? Because you were too smart.
no, I was not smart. No, we broke up just to break up.
Okay,
But
okay.
she was a whole level smart
Right.
than I was. I was just a regular student. She was smart. And we met in Philadelphia at Conclave, and we chatted it up. But and I tell this story to my students all the time too. So when she broke up, she left the paper there. So I had this paper, and I would take the class. She had these classes set out, and I was like, wow, this is working. I take these classes, I get this grades. My grade point average would jump. And then in one section, she's like, "Take art classes. You are good in art." So I took art classes. Sure enough. And then some of the classes, like, because it didn't fit, I would have to take it because I took art growing up. My mom was a art major in college. Her classes, because the schedule didn't fit, I would have to take these high-level art classes. I couldn't take basic art classes because the schedule didn't fit. So I would get there, and there would be advanced level students in it, and the professor was like, "Why are you here?" And I was like, "Well, my girlfriend's schedule say I have to take this class right now." And they would let me in, and like, say you have to walk to your car outside, and you know the most efficient way to walk to your car. I'm taking the schedule that says walk that way to get to that way because I don't know any technique or anything. So I was doing everything the longest way possible because I'm working off of just natural talent instead of learning some technique or common sense. So I would do that, but I was turning them out. Then one day a professor was like, "Have you ever looked at your schedule?" And I was like, "Oh, your transcript." And I was like, "No." He's like, "I'm pretty sure at this point you've gotten enough for 2 degrees." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Go check." And sure enough, I had enough for 2 college degrees. And I was like, "Gosh, I never looked at it." So by that time I had a degree in psychology and a degree in art education. And then when it was time to go to graduate school, I decided to combine them and get a degree in art education. So we just combined my art and psychology together.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, women. I looked at my heart as being the strongest part of me, and using it as inspiration. I never told myself that I couldn't I couldn't do things because of my heart. She wanted to make it like, "Oh, you're my smallest kid, you're my baby, you can't do this because you had a heart condition." So a lot of times when I had to quit things, I had to fight to get back in because it was like, "Okay, you can't play because you have a heart condition." Because I was supposed to give it up and I just didn't. I had to fight to get back into playing sports. I was able to play all 4 years of high school, even though I knew no college was going to let me play with the heart. I was like, at least let me play all 4 years of high school. So I was able to do that.
Tell me this. In your life up to this point now, what has been one of your biggest dreams that you wanted, that you achieved?
At 25, I'm pretty sure it was almost like somebody gave me a Post-it. Say, "I want you to write down all the stuff you want to accomplish." And at 25, you pretty much know every answer in the world, or you think you have it figured out. I wrote it down, and somebody threw it in the trash and said, "I'm gonna give you everything you want, but nowhere the way you want it to happen." I wanted to be a professor, so I became a professor. I wanted one of my cousins reminded me, like when I was like 10 years old or 10th grade, I wrote down, "I want to move to China one day." And she showed me the paper. Literally, it says, "One day I want to move to China." I didn't move to China. I moved to Japan. Um, um, Art. I've always done art. I've always appreciated art. I didn't know my art would come to the level it is now. So that's something is beyond what I would imagine it is. Being a parent was something that I come from a huge family, not even big, just huge. But I never knew I would enjoy being a parent because of how my childhood was. When I had my oldest daughter, I realized I wanted to be a parent, and I enjoyed being a parent. I think those are my biggest accomplishments. The education thing piece, I wanted to be, I accomplished those also. There's more, and the only reason I do those is because just give my kids a carrot to chase. Yeah, but that's
something to chase. Yeah,
right. Yeah,
right. Like I said, I think I told both of you what I thought about how people are taught to think about their children as being their future, and I said, no, that's your past,
right,
basically, and you're their possible future.
right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And I had someone tell that to me when I was in the service, and I could not dispute it. That's a fact.
Right.
I had never thought of it that way.
Yeah, I don't want them to. Once my daughter and I corrected on it, she wanted to not compete. She wrote a paper on something recently. Try to exceed what I've done in a specific thing.
Is this the one that's in the Air Force?
No, this is the one I have. That's in high school.
How old is she? She's what?
16.
16.
And I told her.
Is she at a Japanese school or?
Oh, American school, just
American school. Okay.
But I told her, what I've done shouldn't be something that she can't live her life trying to exceed things I've done.
Like, because she can't make.
Right. No, not. No, well, not that, but it shouldn't be like. I mean,
no, just kidding.
I never like. I told her my mom was a famous artist, and I was. Oh, she was.
She was, or she is.
She was in the fact that she's a writer now, and she doesn't do art as much.
But people will know her if you talked about her art.
Well, it's kind of like I use an analogy where her neighborhood would, but she like if we went somewhere else, they wouldn't.
Okay.
Like she's like a neighborhood legend. Like a parent. They're talking about dad playing football or something. When I was a kid, people were like, "Hey, your mom is this," and I look at my mom and draw something. I'm like, "Wow, I could never do what you do on that." I never thought, "Hey, one day I want to grow up and I want to be better than you at what you do." And that's what I was telling my daughter. I was like, develop your own thing and kill that. Don't don't work to death to try to do what I do and try to make it better.
She has her own journey.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. And she's going to, regardless if she even tried to, she wouldn't be able to, because it's her own journey.
Right.
She's going to put her flavor to it, her touch. What is the funniest, craziest thing that's ever happened to you?
Ooh. Well, I'll say in the art sense, if you want to go to art. Often, if I have a client, they sometimes will expect, or what they'll ask is something that I physically can't create. They may say, "I want you to draw a Tokyo Tower at night on planet Mars during a hailstorm." The scale of 1 to 10, that's 1,000. Or if one of my mom's famous paintings, one of my mom's favorite paintings that I did is a woman. She's got a kimono on, and it's kind of like a light bondage, and it's like my house, and people see the painting, and guys are like, "Man, that's cool." Someone be like, "Man, that's great." Someone be like, "Is that your wife? Is that your girlfriend? Did you?" And it's funny the range of people, the questions they get on it, and like some people are like, "Can your kids see it?" And I was like, "My kids see it as art. I think you've changed it to beyond the context that it is." How people bring in their beliefs into something as simple as canvas and paint put together to create something. And I was like, you'll be surprised of 40, 50 years of painting. This is my mom's favorite painting. And they're like, really, what? And I'm like, yeah, she see it as light, darks, texture, color, movement. She see it specifically as art. And I'm like, wow, I never really thought about that. She see it as what it is. And I'm like, really? I said, my kids, they look at it and they've seen worse in museums. I was like, they don't see it as what other people see it as.
It's interesting. Yeah. It's the eye of the beholder.
Right. But yeah, it gets a range.
So what your job is here? You said you're a professor?
Yes.
And you teach junior high?
Yes.
Now, what do you teach in junior high?
Junior high, I also teach art. Both jobs I teach art.
Okay. As a professor, are you teaching art?
Yes. I teach usually drawing, painting, and art appreciation.
So you do it all here in Japan?
Yes.
How long have you lived in Japan now?
Ooh, 22 years.
22. Do you plan on ever leaving?
If you'd asked me that last year, yes. Now, the closer I get to retirement, the more I keep weighing options.
But do you have to retire? I thought if you're a teacher, there's no retirement.
Well, it's you think so?
Right.
Yeah, maybe like the mob or prison break.
Right.
But I can retire. But when I retire, depending on how I retire, I have to figure out how I'll stay.
Well, so are you thinking this anytime soon?
No, I'm not. I'm in one of those catch-22s where have the years of retirement, but not the age of retirement. So, yeah.
But it has to be the age, actually, right?
To get any kind of
benefits, right?
Yeah. So,
okay. Is that 65?
Yeah. So, yeah. And I'm nowhere scratching that.
So you want to be here for you plan on being here until then? You think?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Well, my kids. I keep saying that my middle two, when I'll base it on where they're at and my grandkids, if they have grandkids. But if I base it off like how my oldest daughter is, I don't think my oldest daughter is gonna have kids. She's perfectly fine being single. Yeah, so it depends. But I enjoy living here. I enjoy everything about Japan. So if I'm here, I'll be happy.
If you weren't here, would you see yourself? Where would you go? Do you think
it would be back to Florida? The only thing is that when I left Florida, I had one nephew. Now I have like 6, and they're all. I'm not going back to Florida to babies. I'm going back to grown men.
Grown men.
And when I do retire, those grown men will be already out of college. So it's not like I'm going back to spend time with my nephews. I'm going back to spend time with my nephew's kids.
Right.
So.
And you told me earlier that you're the only one out of all your siblings that has girls. Everyone else has boys.
Yes. So, yeah.
So you guys are really male dominated.
Yeah.
And of your 4 children, 2 are girls or 3 are girls?
2 girls, 2 boys.
2 girls, 2 boys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know how that happened either.
I'm going to put up some of the pictures you have from your drawings and what you've done. Oh. You do that on commission, right?
Yeah, well, I do both. I used to just only do paintings and murals.
What's the biggest mural you've done?
Lately, the biggest one this year has been, we go by meters, 2.5 meters by 6 meters.
Was that, 2.5, was that in height?
2.5 height, yes.
Height, okay, and then 6 meters long.
Yes.
That's big.
Yeah.
It's on the side of what wall or inside of what wall?
It's inside of a Korean restaurant.
Okay.
And that was one of them where a lot of times the client doesn't, well, if it's a client that really doesn't understand art, or when you talk about funny stories, they wanted the Korean skyline at night from like an aerial view, like you're in a helicopter.
Okay.
And I was like, "Ooh, I don't know. I don't think it's possible."
Right.
In paint.
Okay. That's interesting. That's what they wanted.
Yeah.
But they were satisfied with.
No, they were more than happy. What they did was they actually went and did some research on what I did, and they found a painting that I did, and they're like, "Can we have that painting?" And I was like, "No, coincidentally, that painting's in Seoul now, but I can't do a painting that someone I commissioned for someone."
No, someone commissioned that one that they liked,
and then do it as a mural in your restaurant. So they understood. So they answered.
So you made a whole unique one.
Yeah.
To them.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to do that one? 2 meters by 6.
They gave me basically 2 weeks to do it, and then I could only work on weekends. So I basically did it in 4 days, working 8-hour shifts.
Okay, what type of material did you use?
Acrylic paint.
Acrylic paint.
Yes.
All of it. Nothing outside of that.
No, it's acrylic paint. It was already flat latex paint on the
Okay.
wall, so I didn't have to worry about that.
The base was white.
Oh no, it was like a cream color with
Cream
chalk.
color,
I
okay.
could use that for sand.
Right.
So yes, that was good.
Had you put the paste, or you said that was already there?
No, it was already the latex was already there, so all I had to
Right.
do was just draw it out and go. And like I said, a lot of my paintings, the subject matter is nature, and so that making it a beach scene was in my wheelhouse. It was easy.
Have you ever done people?
Yes, I do people, and I do them often. It just depends on what the person wants it. If you just ask me to do something, a lot of times I tie my own subject matter into beauty and strength of nature. But if someone asks me to do something of people, I can.
I mean, have you ever done portraits like of a family?
Yes, I have. I'm trying to think. The last one I did was a couple of years ago, and that was again someone in Korea. Out of coincidentally, it was a family. It was a family portrait, not even a recent family portrait. It was maybe one of someone. Maybe
so you did
30
it
or
from a
40 years
picture?
ago. Yeah, they had a picture.
Okay.
Now sitting, I've never done just because that takes hours. I've done when I do figure drawing. I have people sit, but usually it's like we're sitting now. But a portrait where they're sitting usually takes a series of days and hours. If they can sit that long, that's fine. Two things I know I start doing before one, and is walking and drawing. Just holding and just laying up and sitting on the table.
So they were happy with you, or they weren't, because you were doing it on the walls, I bet you.
Well, that's another thing I tell my college students. Coming from a mom that did art, drawing on the walls, the tables, everything else, that was in the floor, it was fine. And I tell my students, my mom's biggest pet peeve was drawing on school paper. School paper, you had to go out and buy more. That wall you can clean. The floor you can clean. Paper, you had to go out and buy more paper for school. School paper was for school.
So you get an enjoyment out of doing what you learned to do.
Yeah.
You can do it all.
I tell my students, like when they try to turn something in on school paper, I'm like, oh, I can't take it. And I was like, oh, this is a pet peeve that's been passed down for decades.
Yeah, it's an emotional thing for
and
you.
Right, and I tell them, and they're like,
you
really?
get scolded for
Right.
doing this.
Yeah, and I tell them the story. I was like, look, and there's nothing personal. It's just I can't take it.
Yeah.
And it's like, really? I was like, yeah, I could draw on the walls. I could draw, and I always keep my military, female military students. I like, does anyone in class have a knife? And probably 7 out of 10 of my female military students were like, I got a knife. And I needed to sharpen a pencil. And I like in my family, if we needed a pencil to sharpen a pencil, we didn't have a pencil sharpener. We sharpened it with a knife. And they were like, really, why? And I was like, because the vibration of a pencil or sharpener would break the lead. And for artists, you needed the lead. And I was like, at home, if people would come to my house, they're like, your mom lets you use like a full-on steak knife to whittle a pencil. Yeah. Like, you look, all our pencils look like this, even school pencils. And like in the class, they're like, why you know that female military? I was like, they always carry sharp stuff. So I can go around. The guys have nothing.
No.
Keys.
Right.
And a debit card. That's it. The women be like, oh, I got a full-on switchblade. Yeah.
Tony, if you could go back in time and you could see a younger Tony to give him advice based upon what you know now, how old would that Tony be? How old would you be? And what advice would you give him?
Oh, I thought about this recently. He'd be 18, freshman in college. He would be told to invest, to learn how to invest. And the reason why I know specifically this, because I had this conversation recently. When I went to college, I had close friends and my best friend in college. The close friends were in military reserves. My cousin was in the military reserves. My best friend went to the military. Two best friends went to the military, and then went to the university. And They all went to the military, then came back out. But I went straight in because college was my dream. I had to go. I remember laying in bed maybe 2 or 3 weeks before college started, and my brother was like, "Hey, there's a woman in a military uniform here." Why? I don't know. She's here. I'm laying in bed, and I'm thinking he's kidding. Eventually, she opens the door. She's like, "Hey, your best friends want you to come join the buddy system with you in the military." I start college in 3 weeks, and she's trying to give me her spiel on the military. I'm like, "I go to college in 3 weeks. It's not gonna happen." 18-year-old Tony, if I can go back, I would say, listen, because all my friends that did, I had my first day of college when we started. I had been delivering pizzas to my university for probably 2 months. I knew my whole university like back of my hand because I had been delivering pizzas. I had to work. I paid pretty much 100% of my tuition from my first day of college to the end. My friends that were in reserves would come and they were like, college class before, I got tuition assistance, so they didn't have the struggles. They were like, I mean, they had struggles, but it was that. My best friends went to the Army and then they came back and they were in college. A whole different set of where I would work and do stuff they didn't have. And I'm like, I would say, do that or learn how to, at 18, another financial story, and I've been on the whole thing. I moved here in 2000. At the beginning I moved here August 2000. January of 2000, maybe I told you the story. January 2000, my job said, "Hey, we're starting our Roth IRA." So they say, "Hey, we're going to automatically put you in this IRA program." One of my fraternity brothers, like, "Hey, I work for the same IRA thing, come see me." So I talked to him, completely forgot about it. 2 years ago, 2019, I get a letter saying, "We have not been able to find you. The state of Florida has not been able to find you. If we not hear from you, this money goes back to the state of Florida." I call and say, "I have no idea what this letter is about. What money?" He said, "Well, you had a job in Florida in 1999. We will, and we've been trying to find you. We can't find you. We're going to give this money back." I was like, "What is it for?" He was like, "You had a job in Florida, and it's part of the IRA." I was like, "Gosh, I forgot. I had this money. Like, how much is it?" It says, $800. I said, "Oh, okay. So what you want to do with it?" I said, "Well, you can just cash it, I guess." So I didn't know. And they said, "Well, you have another one." And I was like, "It's two." It's like, "Yes, you did another one with an Alvin Barrington." And I was like, "Well," and I was like, "When?" It's like, "You did them almost at the same time. They're like days apart." And I was like, "Well, how much is that one?" It's like, "That one has $16,000 in it." And I was like, well, what? And it was like, well, Alvin Barrington, who my fraternity brother, when I went to see him, he created one, but I guess he used different companies, and he had been
compound interest.
And I was like, what? And it was like, yeah. So I saw him like a few months later, and I'm like, "You think of something? I owe you something." But it's amazing that, 18-year-old, I was like, I didn't have fun in college. I enjoyed college experience, but I went to college as a business. It was my dream, but I wasn't there to party. I wasn't there to do a lot of stuff. I was there to get it over with. But if I had to do it over again, I was like, learn how to invest. Learn how to do some of the stuff that your friends did. They didn't go to the military because they wanted to not necessarily protect and defend. They went because they knew that if they did this, they didn't struggle with this later on. And they knew this. Like one of my best friend, when he got out of Marine Corps, the first thing he did was he bought a townhouse in my neighborhood. And I was like, "We're 20 years old. Why are you buying a townhouse?" And he was like, "Well, I bought a townhouse. I can rent it out, and I can make money off renting it." And I was like, "What?" And I was like, "What?" I didn't understand.
Way above you.
Yeah, I was like, "Wow, why would you do that?" And he was 20 years old, and he was a homeowner that was renting his house to people. And I was like, "I don't understand." Yeah, but I was like, "Wow, that's amazing."
A lot of people aren't given that kind of information. That's true.
Yeah.
Listen, Tony, I want to thank you so much.
Thank you
for taking the time. It's fantastic. I want to thank all of you for watching this. We actually have a podcast, but for those of you that are viewing, make sure you continue to do so and press like, and subscribe. And remember, it's all unknown, so continue to reach for the stars because you're too blessed to be stressed.